Good morning, friends. Today it's a chilly day. Not a cloud in the sky. It was actually pretty cold this morning. I actually turned off the fan in my room for the first time. So it's a cause for celebration as we approach further into the fall season. I think technically fall started around on the 21st or the 22nd. I'm not entirely sure, but I know that's usually when the fall season starts. So, now it has officially begun and we can enjoy it for what it is. So, today I'm going to do another request. I actually have quite a list packed on now. I got a request last week to do something on punk. It's a very broad category as to what punk is. To me, punk is separate from the actual music genre of what punk is. Punk music is a very specific style of music that originated in the 1970s, mostly in the United Kingdom, and then breached over into New York City later on in the early 80s. But I'm talking mostly about the concept of punk, which I think has originated from it and has morphed into this different kind of meaning that isn't necessarily related to its specific aesthetic or the style of music. To me, I think punk, in its general sense, is rejection of authority, or the what is called in a lot of cultural studies is the master narrative. This was coined by an author. I forget her name though, but she's very popular, especially amongst Black American literature. But the master narrative is that sort of it's culture's sort of way of piecing together everything that's going on around us. It's our way of sort of guiding us into what we believe is the truth or what we believe is to be good. It's the master narrative. It's where everyone's sort of directed in culturally. And that doesn't necessarily revolve all the same in a certain society. There could be different master narratives depending on what group you choose to be a part of. There are two major ones happening in especially the West right now versus the right and versus the left. And they both have their own specific master narratives that they want to follow. So to me, being punk is going away from that notion and sort of stepping outside of that and sort of coming into your own. It's about a sense of addressing your individuality and saying that you're not part of the collective mindset. The ironic thing is that when punk actually came about, the aesthetic and the style and all of it sort of pieced together and sort of became its own collective mindset that sort of, became a contradiction of what it was supposed to be against. And I think that's one of the reasons why punk, in its general sense, keeps on changing and turning into different things. And there was that sort of movement that happened a little bit ago where people were saying conservatism is the new punk, which obviously now has kind of died out and isn't really a popular thing to say anymore, because being conservative isn't really exactly avant-garde or individualistic in terms of your viewpoints on the world. I think at one point it was very for maybe like a month or two, it was kind of this weird thing to be. It was like, if you think especially among the youth, being young, and then the West primarily, everyone was sort of geared towards being a liberal or being some sort of left-leaning ideology, including myself. And then there's this completely other side to look at things, the right side to look at things. And that sort of created this attraction and like appeal to some people where they're like, ooh, this is like new and exciting. This is an area of thought that I never really thought existed, and it's appealing in terms that it's sort of being a contrarian view to everything that, you know, a lot of people might have been fed in their throats throughout their entire lives, you know, being part of the collective mind, being, you know, working in groups, working in teamwork, helping out the poor people, you know, hating rich people, hating all this other stuff. And it's like there's this other side to it that was, I guess, appealing for a lot of people. And I guess that was sort of the reason why conservatism became the new punk, quote unquote. And I think now in this day and age, we can sort of see that, you know, both of these camps have become very large and sort of have overtaken their roles as being, you know, outsider roles, so to speak. So that's a very political way of looking at it, but I think there's a more general way of looking at it that has nothing to do with politics and just as being in society as a whole. And we can start off in the family household. You know, pretty much everyone who goes through adolescence at some point wants to rebel against their family members, right? They want to rebel against their parents. They want to rebel against the system. They hate school. They want to fuck around. They don't want to do anything. You know, not every teenager does this, but there's a significant amount that does, and it's a phase they go through, and that's sort of what punk is. It's you know, you've been fed this information and this way of going about life throughout your entire existence, and there comes a point where you want to challenge it, you want to question it, and I think that's the foundation of what punk is in its essence. It's the questioning. It's the, you know, saying, why can't I do this? Why can't I stay up past 11? Why can't I listen to this music? Why can't I do these drugs? And it's, you know, there are obviously some reasons why there are drugs you just don't do, like heroin or coke, for instance. They're very bad for you and highly addictive. But when you're a kid, you might seem to question it because you weren't really given many reasons as to why not to do it, or you may have been given some like preaching reasons not to do it. But at the end of the day, the thing that made you follow this punk mindset was to question it, to question authority, to go against the authority, to go against this master narrative that's being shoved down your throat throughout your entire life. And I think that's the essence of what punk is. It's not a genre of music or a certain way of dressing. It's merely the act of questioning and the act of going against a cultural norm that you believe is not being done for the right reasons. And it doesn't mean to say that being punk is good or bad. It's simply a state of mind where you're going against the cultural norm. Whether the cultural norm is actually beneficial towards you or it's harmful towards you is irrelevant. It's the act of actually going against that notion in general. And I think that's the main aspect about punk. It has nothing to do with the style of music or the way you dress, right? I'm sort of repeating myself a lot, but I guess I just sort of want to clarify both to myself and to people watching this what I believe punk to be. So I guess it's there's not much else to say about that. You know, punk is just going against the grain. It's about questioning. It's about constantly questioning both other people and I think mainly yourself. To be punk, you need to question yourself. You need to question where you stand. And I think that's like another level of punk, right? If you want to think about it in that sense, there's, you know, different levels of punk you can go through. So I'm going to leave it at that. You can think about it if you want. Think about what you believe punk to be. And yeah, that's about it. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.